Good evening, good evening, good evening. Today is still Wednesday, January 8th, 2024. Back with another episode. Thank y'all for tuning in. I really appreciate it. As always, I'm truly grateful. Now, I was at the barbershop earlier, fresh crispy lineup. At the barbershop earlier, and we was talking, the barbershop good for where the men go to talk. Well, that's how it used to be. It's still like that at my barbershop, where the men go to talk about anything. That's the hair salon for the women. And we were talking, right? And one of the topics of conversation was how today's world, we still people, same people, human beings rather, men, women. But what's the difference in the time now and the way people were back then? What caused people or made people act a certain way back then that's not here today? Something is missing in the human mindset, in the human experience. Something that they had back then we don't have anymore. They had men, had women back then. Women looked like women back then, the way they look now, even before the community came about with these new terminologies or whatever. We had men back then, we had women back then. We got men now, we got women now. But there's a difference. They look completely different. Nowadays, a woman will walk around outside naked. No problem. Ain't worried about it. Don't care who looking. And you better not say nothing to her. She gonna say you're hating or you can't judge her, so forth and so on. You got young men walking around here today, pants down to their knees, with a belt on. Coming out the house looking any kind of way. The women all in Walmart with bonnets on their head. The men all in the stores, the young men would have, you grown folk too, in the store smelling like that gas. Walk in the door, got the whole store lit up. And people back then, in the 60s and 70s, they used to burn too. What's the difference? Women back then wanted to look sexy too. Men back then wanted to look masculine too. But now, for some reason, something is missing that allows the women to go too far with their looking sexy. That allow the men to go too far with what they think is looking masculine. Because to them, that's masculine nowadays. That's hard. I'm a real, pants sagging. That don't mean they like this. That mean that's their way of believing that they're hard, tough, masculine. That's their version of masculinity. Pulling out that thing. Instead of throwing these, if you got a beef where you can't squash it, you throw these. They don't do that no more. It's straight up that thing. That's their masculine. That's their manhood right now. Something is missing that kept it from being like that 40 years ago compared to now. And what we are missing is shame. There's no more shame in this world. Fathers running out on their kids, not taking care of their kids, not providing for their children. Once upon a time, would have been brought to shame. The men in the neighborhood, if they find out, like they did my dad, that he wasn't taking care of me, they talked about him like a dog. They shamed him. The way he ain't used to walk, he couldn't come through the neighborhood no more, all willy-nilly like he ain't doing nothing wrong. Look at those sorry and red. They'll see it the way he can hear it. Don't even take care of the child. Won't even come see that boy. I remember hearing my adopted father and other men in the neighborhood, grown real men, talk about my dad and other dudes in the neighborhood that didn't take care of their kids. They talked about them, put them down, didn't want nothing to do with them, avoided them, because they was ashamed of them. I remember women having on dresses down to their knees. If the wind blow and the dress look like it's finna blow up, they'll push it down. They didn't play that. The women back then. I would see women when it looked like they cleavage was showing, they'll cover up because they still had shame. They didn't come outside with rollers in their head, bonnets on their head going to the store. The women when I grew up had me the way I was a managed little boy because they looked good when they came out the house. And they wasn't naked. Dresses to their knees. Cleavage covered up. Or if it was just a little bit. Just a little bit you could see. Shirley Temple curls or however they had their hair done back then, with their perms or whatever, the hot press, whatever they had. They didn't come out with no bonnets and rollers in their head. Because they had shame. Shame still existed 40 years ago, 50 years ago, and beyond. There are just certain things people wouldn't do because they were ashamed. They didn't want the shame that came along with doing that. A woman wasn't going to come outside without her goodies showing because it would have been shameful on her. It would have brought her shame. People would have been, now, anything goes. There is no shame. People ain't ashamed of nothing they do now. Look any kind of way, wear what you want to wear, come outside, disrespect anybody. Don't worry about the kids, don't worry about the old folk, don't worry about nobody. Bucky, naked. Y'all see him. I remember growing up. You know how a baby, when they from a certain age, from a newborn on up to a certain, I don't know what age it is, when it click, when it turn on. But early on in a child's life, girl or boy, they can run around the house with nothing on and not try to hide nothing. Run around the house with nothing on. I'm talking about a child. Can run around the house, 1, 2, 3 years old. Ain't got on nothing. House full of folks. He ain't trying to hide nothing. He ain't ashamed. He runs through the house bucket naked. Little girl too. But at some point in their life, as they grow older, grow up, a light clicks on. Something goes off in their mind. I'm naked. I can't walk around like this anymore. They're not taught it. As a parent, you didn't teach your child at some point in time that you're naked. It just happened. It came at some point in time. They reached a point in their life where they didn't want to. They weren't okay. They want to cover up because they start experiencing something called shame. 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 I'm naked. As in the Garden of Eden, they realized they were naked. At some point in time, the little boy child or the little girl child realizes I'm naked. And they want to put something on. They want to cover up. They're not coming out the bathroom no more after they got through taking a bath, walking around the house with everything showing. They get to a point where they realize, I need to cover up. I feel funny. There's a feeling that I'm feeling that makes me want to put something on and hide my personal stuff. It's called shame. At some point in time, you naturally supposed to have some sort of shame instilled in you that won't allow you as a woman to walk around showing everything you got, leaving nothing to the imagination. There's something in you as a young man or as a man that's supposed to make you feel bad about your pants down to your knees, looking like there's something that's supposed to be naturally in you as a man. That if you're not taking care of your child, you're supposed to feel bad about yourself. You're not supposed to be able to just run to the mall and buy you the brand new J's and you ain't did nothing for your child. You're supposed to feel shame about that, but you don't. Men and women nowadays, no shame. Can we make shame great again? We live in a society now that tells you ain't supposed to say nothing about nobody. That's judging. You ain't supposed to judge. He who fears sin cast the first stone. They misinterpreting what the words say. It says, judge ye not unless ye be judged. It does say that. But telling somebody what they're doing wrong is not judging them. It's telling them what they're doing wrong. If somebody you just saw stole something out the grocery store, then you tell him stealing is wrong. You're not judging them. Judgment is when you say, I just saw you steal out that grocery store. I'm going to give you 20 years. The 20 years is the judgment or punishment for what they're doing. When you tell somebody what they're doing wrong, you're not issuing out punishment. They say God is the judge. That means God hands out the punishment for your sin. We as human beings, we can call each other's sins out. Hey man, you cheating on your wife, that's wrong. Hey woman, you cheating on your husband, that's wrong. Hey, you stealing, that's wrong. What you're doing is wrong. We can do that. That's not judging. Now if I say, you're going to hell, that's judging. Only God determines that. You can go steal something, God can say, you know what, I forgive it. You ain't going to hell. Because he got the final say so. God determines the final judgment. So me saying, you're wrong for coming out here naked like that. You're a grown woman. We got kids, old folks out here. That's not judging you. That's telling you right from wrong. You're wrong. Now, if I say, you're going to hell for wearing that, now I'm judging you. I done passed judgment on you. In other words, your punishment. Me telling you ought to be ashamed of yourself for walking in the store looking like that, I'm not offering the punishment to you. I'm not punishing you. I'm not going to do nothing to you. I'm just pointing out, hey, you're wrong. We're supposed to do that. We're supposed to tell each other you're wrong. A man's supposed to tell another man, hey man, take care of your kids. You wrong for that, man. You can't judge me. That ain't judging. Take care of your kids. That's right or wrong. It's called teaching, guiding, molding, not judging. Yeah. Christians, whoever else, take that Bible and make it say whatever it means, whatever they want it to mean. Judgment, look up what judging is. Judgment. When you pass down judgment, that means you punishing the person. You're sentencing them. The judge. We're going to leave it up to the judge. When you go to court, the cop that pointed out what you did, he didn't judge you. The DA pointed out what you did wrong and showed what you did wrong. The judge tell you how many years you get. Offers down your punishment. He the one did the judging. The DA didn't judge you. They just accused you. Pointed out what you did wrong. The cop didn't judge you. He accused you. Said you did something wrong. It's up to the judge to determine what happens to you. That's the judgment right there. Not the cop, not the DA, not me for saying you wrong for being outside naked. I'm not judging you. I'm telling you what you're doing. If I say this shirt is black, I'm not judging the shirt, I'm describing it. I'm not punishing it. I'm not punishing you by saying you ought to be ashamed of yourself. We have no shame anymore. Anything goes. Anything goes. Once upon a time, if I would have talked back to grown folks when I was a child, I would have felt shame, embarrassed, and I would have brought shame to my parents. You know that boy around there talking back to Miss Elizabeth? My mom would have been ashamed. And she would have passed down judgment on me. She would have whooped my... My mom would have judged me. But whoever told my mom what I was doing and told me I was wrong for talking back to grown folks, they weren't judging me. They were pointing out my wrong. My mom, when I got home, she gave me the judgment. Stop with all that foolishness. Talking about somebody judging you for telling you the truth. A man shouldn't walk around with his pants down to his knees. Women should be outside naked, showing everything they got. Shouldn't be on Facebook married, taking provocative pictures for everybody to see. You know who you are. Naked. But hey, I know we live in a world with no shame, and that's what I'm starting a petition for. Make shame great again. Let's bring back shame, ladies and gentlemen. Let's bring back an era when people were ashamed to behave a certain way. Where the shame alone would stop people from doing certain behaviors because they didn't want to embarrass themselves. They didn't want to be ashamed. A woman once upon a time would have been ashamed to come outside looking like women look nowadays when they come outside. On purpose looking like that. The way women are walking around nowadays, when I was growing up, women would have been ashamed to come outside like that. Embarrassed and ashamed. They didn't want you to see their underwear hanging up on the clothesline. Let alone walking outside, you can see everything they wearing. A man would have been ashamed for you to see his underwear. Pants hanging down to his knees. He would have been ashamed for somebody to go back and tell his mom and daddy what he out here doing. Talking back to grown folks. Talking back to old folks. Breaking the law. Would have been ashamed of that. We don't have any more shame anymore. Which allows us, once the shame is removed, realize that we naked has been removed. As the child grows, some point in time, he realizes he's naked and he want to put some clothes on. By nature, natural, I need to put some on. He wasn't like that at 3 years old, 4 years old. At some age point, whatever that age, I don't know what that age is, but a child reaches a point where they ain't come out that bathroom naked no more. Because now, some shame has been instilled in them. Somewhere down the line, we managed to remove the shame. Where people ain't ashamed of nothing no more. Anything goes. I don't care who know it. I don't care what you say about it. I'm going to get out here and wild out. I always talk about you don't supposed to care what folks think about you, but you're supposed to care about what you think about yourself. That's where the shame come in. You should feel shame in yourself that you outside looking like that. And the fact that you don't lets me know something is terribly wrong with this world, that people don't feel shame no more. See, once upon a time, didn't nobody have to tell that child to be ashamed of being naked. Something inside of him told him he was naked. Something inside of him told him he should be ashamed to walk out here with nothing on. I shouldn't have to tell you that. Other folks shouldn't have to tell you that. Something is missing within mankind nowadays that once upon a time would have made you feel shame for the behavior that you're carrying on nowadays. It's missing. Some gone. Reprobate mind, whatever you want to call it. We have no more shame. Anything goes. I don't feel no type of way about it. I ain't worried about what nobody else say either. But at the same time, I still have shame within me that keeps me from doing certain things. Because I don't want to be ashamed and embarrassed. It ain't about what nobody else say or think. It's about how I feel. I don't want to feel ashamed of myself. We're going to reach a time in society and life where people don't have no shame within themselves. Ain't embarrassed about nothing. Nothing. We need to bring shame back. Get it? Got it. Good. Bye.